Director on the board of NCP. Please accept a token of gratitude and thank you for being part. Now, I would like to introduce our next panelist, Priyanka Bose. Ma'am, we request you to come up to the dais. She worked with 50+ clients from across the globe on diverse assignments from growth roadmap, business plan development, financial modeling, viability studies, valuation advisory, pitch book development, market and product strategy to operational excellence. Ma'am, please accept a token of gratitude and thank you for being part of this. Our next panelist is Mr. Ratnakar Ramavelam. Mr. Ratnakar is a chartered accountant and PGDBBA graduate from Sindhurst University, Pune, and an alumni of IIM Bangalore. With 18 years of experience in corporate finance, fundraising, risk assessment, audit, and taxation. He currently serves as the investment director and portfolio manager at Hyderabad Angels. Hyderabad Angels has achieved 37 investments, 4 exits, and an average return of 3x under his leadership. Please accept a token of gratitude. We welcome you to the theatre. Now, I would like to introduce the moderator of the panel discussion, Padmakar sir. Professor Padmakar Jadhav is an accomplished corporate trainer, mentor, researcher, and an accomplished academic. He is currently working as a professor at the Institute of Public Enterprise. He has overall 22 years of experience, out of which he spent 21 years with Tata AIA Life Insurance Corporation Limited. His area of interest are strategic management, people development, team development, and consumer behavior. Sir, please accept a token of gratitude and we welcome you to the discussion. Without further delay, I request the panelists to commence the discussion on the topic, understanding investors' mindset, aligning vision and expectations.
Thank you very much for the brief introduction of all the panel members. At the outset, very good afternoon to each one of you, the young minds sitting over here, and some of you who are looking forward to really see these 2 days of exciting things, and we will definitely it will spark in you that you will start something new. Some of you have already made your mind. It's really good to see. And the best part here is we are going to understand the investors as well as the founders, but more in terms of investors. And the thing is, all the 4 panel members are expert in the area. So whatever doubts, clarification, or some support that you want, you can check. Let me tell you the process, how we are going to go ahead. It's a 1-hour session. So try and make the most during this 1 hour, because this is going to be the foundation for you to really kickstart what you want to do for your future. So please pay attention to the thoughts given by all 4 experts, as well as if you have some questions, you can check with the panel members who can add value to what you are planning to do. So my job will be to help you understand certain things from the perspective of the topic that we are talking. And let me start with a thought. I'm sure many of you know about the gentleman who has created a history in the startup arena. If you are looking at one person, Vinny Bansal, I'm sure most of you may be knowing him. I'm very passionate about this gentleman. Maybe as I give a lot of examples in my class, I talk about this gentleman at brief, and I had an opportunity to interact over phone with this guy when I was doing a session along with him. So when a guy from Amazon, an executive, and then he decided to join with his friend Sachin Bansal, both are not relatives, but surname is coincidental. They started with $6,000, and I'm sure at that particular time, $6,000 in 2008 was a very big amount. They started this operation from their apartment, and then you all know how he was able to take off, and then Walmart was taken 77% was sold. It was the world's largest deal at that particular time. So that's the strength that he was able to evolve as a startup and get the courage to leave the best company and move. And then in 2023, he also diluted his stake and 1.5 million to $2 million is what he earned. What I'm trying to indicate with you is not the money, but now let me tell you what he has done and what he is doing. He has done 94 rounds of investment. He has 10 exits. He has 4 unicorns under his belt. And there are few well-known companies that he has invested. ASCO, Unacademy, UNO, OnePay is what he has invested. And he's invested. So what I'm trying to tell you is today you are sitting over there as a founder or maybe emerging founder. Maybe in few years' time, you will be looking at investing in some other companies based on your learning. That's what we are trying to talk about, understanding the investors' mindset. When they invest, what are they looking? And that's the area that we need to do. Just to brief you what exactly is happening in the startup area, yes. During our discussion, we were saying it's a passion that everyone would like to start. They want to say, yes, I'm going to start a new company, startup company, a lot of enthusiasm, but the reality and the market conditions are definitely different, but you should be prepared for that. 2023, there was $24 billion of investment which has happened. And let me tell you, the good news for all of us is that the data point says there will be 180,000 startup companies by 2030. And at the same time, 22,000 people who will be looking at investing. That's the data point that we have brought in. And $500 billion is already invested. When you look at the total market cap of all the startup companies, $500 billion is already there in the kitty, and I'm sure it will go up. So we will be able to achieve the goal of being the third largest economy. By 2025, we want to achieve $5 billion of economy. And by 2030, 8.5 is what the mindset is there, and maybe the milestone is there. From that perspective, we all are there, but it's you who have to decide today. If you are very serious and if you have a great idea and you know it can be commercialized, definitely this is a path that you should be taking. And with that, I also request the panel members starting from Rachita ma'am and then Ratnakar sir and then Tejas and Priyanka to give your views on the topic, which is very important in understanding. And one critical part is aligning the vision and expectation is very important, and we will evolve around a particular aspect. So I request ma'am to start first your thoughts and then. Thank you.
A very good afternoon, and first of all, thank you, Startupedia, for inviting me here. It's a pleasure. So coming to the topic of understanding investors' mindset and aligning, the ideas, it's extremely important. Basically, what I mean saying here is that to keep the investor when we are looking for investment is as good as a marriage. So we are trying to look at, marrying between the founder and the investor, who will stay with the investor, with the founder, and the investor will stay together for at least 4-5 years before they find an exit. So it's so important that, just like in a marriage, that there should be quite a good understanding between the two partners, and both the partners' vision should be aligned, or their thought process should be aligned. So therefore, it's very important that you choose the right kind of an investor who can understand your business, who can understand your culture, the way you want to execute your business. So I would say that there have been many instances, especially during, when I have been involved, basically I'm a legal consultant, so I do advise a lot of companies on the legal aspects, and there I deal with a lot of investors and the founders. And that's where I realized that there have been so many mismatches where ultimately either the founder wants to take an exit or the investor wants to exit as soon as possible because they're not able to move ahead together. And that could be a disaster. But if it matches well and if they go well, then that company can bloom and it can even turn into a unicorn. So that's the most important thing. And how do you find a good match? How do you ensure that, it is a good match? It's obviously, therefore it's so important that there has to be many, many rounds of discussions that have to happen before eventually you sign and, you get into an agreement and you take the money. And for that, rounds of investment, rounds of discussions that happen is basically, that's where you need to have that patience. So many a times people don't have that patience. You feel that, oh my God, I need the money now. And if it's going to take so long, how am I going to do? And in that rush, you try and just take whatever is available, and that's where it causes a lot of failures. I would say that investing is a lot of patience. You have to have that patience. You have to find the right person. And we discuss more. So I'll stop here. Thank you.
Okay, good afternoon. After lunch, we are discussing. Thank you. Ratnakar here. I represent as investment director in Hyderabad. We invest in startups. So one of the topics they brought in is how, as an investor, you guys look at startups. So many students, because we look at many students, startups coming to us. One of the key things we ask them is today, will your relatives, parents, family, and friends are willing to invest in your startup? That is the first and foremost question. Are they believing you or not? Even at 10,000 rupees or at 1 lakh, it doesn't matter. We need to investment should come from them. That is the point of my discussion with most of the students today. After that, the next level of discussion, what we are doing is many advisors are coming to students because they are the first generation. They never done any startup today. They never ran any business today. They need support. Entrepreneurship is a large responsibility, carrying HR functions, finance functions, sales functions, people management, planning, manufacturing units, right? Many activities are there for an entrepreneur to do. So they need the right kind of advice, and we want advisors on the board, understanding your weaknesses, okay? And if the advisor is also investing some money, it is a great startup for us. Please keep that in mind. Then the investors will come and invest. We understand the kind of topics which are getting there. They need a lot of hand support and heavy lifting from the investor's point of view. People are willing to invest on that side. But the only thing what we observe in many of the student-run startups is the carry of the startup beyond 3 years has been very, very not even 1% of the students are able to grow beyond 3 years. They always going back to jobs or they're happy to move with it. That today my point of coming here is we want you to have patience. We want you to carry your passions. We want you to believe in your startup, what you're trying to do. Then come to investors, we are happy to invest. That's one of the key things. We ask many questions to student-backed startups. What has been your vision? What has been your passion? Where can be your previous point? Where you want it to be? Are you willing to continue your passion beyond this? Please remember, as per our Shastras, or if you look into Ramayana, Mahabharata, a human being has been born to see good and bad. We have to cry and laugh, right? We all agree about it. So in entrepreneurship also, good and bad will happen. Please understand that. We know that you can survive in good times, but we wanted to see you can survive in bad times. That is a clear vision what we look as an investors while investing in student-backed startups. Yeah, we all agree? I would like to see that passion to be carried. Don't leave your faith. What you want to deliver, please go ahead and faith and deliver it. It may take 2 years, it may take 4 years, it may take 5 years, but you will do excellently well. I hope you all know Sricharan Lakra Jora, once a student actually. He believed in his vision, maybe he worked for some time, but the kind of carry what he has done today is doing excellently good. Correct? You all would have heard. So we want that belief and passion to be carried by you. Investors' questions are related in the direction how are you carrying the passion and direction? We are happy to invest on that. That's only my message from here today. Thank you.
So I'm Tejas, founder. I also started with a business now. So even though the session today and the topic is a lot about understanding the investor mindset, I spent a large part of my life on the other side as a founder. So I'll try to marry both of what are the kind of typical mistakes that you might end up making right now, because right now you're not an investor, right? But the important thing to do is also think like the investor. Right? So Mr. I've already talked about how it's almost like a marriage. And while I was thinking about it, I have some points that I'd like to disagree on, but I'll get to that also. And then we also talked about resilience and how you really don't need to give up, right? But so the more I think about these things, I also feel like you shouldn't actually be thinking about 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, right? Or you should be thinking about, oh, let's come up with a cool idea and let's build this. Am I in it for good or not? I would actually ask all of you guys to be way much more critical, right? Don't think of it as a 5-year journey. Think of it as a 10-year journey. You could potentially make some money, sell it off in 1 year. Sure, that could happen, right? But are you actually willing to build something that you really believe in for the next 10 years? Right? And then when you're building that, you hear a lot of stories about how glamorous startups are, how good your life could be, how people have made us a lot of money. But I would ask you to look at the best stories to inspire yourself to keep moving. But look at the worst case scenarios of how there's so many people who have failed, right? And how is it that you will be able to keep going? When you're building, you will, of course, like make changes. You at this stage, no, right? The moment you recognize that there's a lot of things that I need to do. So I will have to continue to keep learning, keep improving. I will face issues. I will keep having the growth mindset of like I'll keep falling down. How fast can I get back up? You will make mistakes. What do I need to do that I need to keep moving on? What is my core vision that I need to achieve? But while you're building this, have a clear idea of who you're building it for, right? And a lot of things I heard like Padmakar sir also does a lot of research into like customer behaviors and customers. Most people can just start off with little ideas, things that we can do, but not really who you're building for, right? And why are they going to use your product? How much are they going to pay? Do they already pay for your product? Right? And even if you build something cool, can you even resell? There's this popular quote that first time founders think of product, second time founders think of distribution, right? You can build something cool, but if you can't sell it to people or you can't reach to people, you die out anyway. But so there's a lot of thinking that you need to be doing. What are the skills that you need to build up? And while you build your startup, you should be continuously looking at getting better at different areas. Be it consumer understanding, be it product building, be it sales. There'll be a lot of learning that you have. So keep that perspective in mind. And there are some really interesting things I will share with you as we go into the further questions about how you should actually think about, I guess, even the relationship and like the whole fundraising process or even like fundraising and building products. But I think for now, like it will be good to just keep that in mind of like there's a lot of work to be done. Be sure of what you want to do, and like maybe the last point there. Even as you're a student entrepreneur, you don't have a lot of expenses, right? But don't be the guy who's only surviving on Maggi. There's this popular concept of Brahmin profitability where you don't eat anything except Maggi all the time and then you're still profitable. Make sure that you're like physically fit, mentally fit. Even when you start making money or getting some funding, at least have a bare minimum salary to take care of yourself. Because if you're struggling to eat food, there's no way that you'll be able to make the right decisions for your company. Right? You make bad decisions. Whenever money is available or whenever you need to raise funds, you just go for whatever is the most easily available for you. So take care of yourself, then take care of your company, along with the whole like Maslow's hierarchy of like yourself and survival, family, and then like the whole actualization of like spirituality and like making money and solving problems for the world. That comes in later. First of all, take care of yourself. Cool. Okay, so I'll move on now and then we'll come back to this.
And parents, good afternoon, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Priyanka. I have been working for about 2 decades in the industry, and the last advising early stage and growth stage businesses. I will, so coming to the topic, understanding investor mindset, and I will agree and I will add on to what Rashida just said, that investors and founders more or less have a relationship like a marriage. And in a marriage, what is important is trust, devotion, transparency. And that keeps your relationship going on for a really long time, and that is what you want from your relationship with your investor. But before the marriage comes the phase of proposal. How do you propose to an investor? You need to understand your investor. You need to understand what they like, what they don't like. What is the age of the investor? What kind of industries do they like? What kind of startups do they want to fund into? So these are very important phases that you need to understand first about an investor. Anybody from an angel investor to an HNI to a VC fund has different parameters and different objectives and agendas of investment. Let me, for example, take an example of a celebrity. Let's take Sunil Shetty, for example. He has been in Bollywood and he has transitioned his career to being an investor and founder. If you look at the kind of investments that he has made in startups, it's mostly around fitness, restaurants, because that is what his liking is. If you go to a Sunil Shetty saying that, look, I have a pet care startup and I want to do this, and why don't you onboard on this idea with me? I doubt that Sunil Shetty would really be interested in that. There are chances he will be, but you need to understand what every investor wants. When you go to a girl, you know, this is my type of girl, she likes this. Or when you go to a boy to propose, let's not say, only as a boy proposes, these days, girls and boys both propose. So when you're proposing to an investor to invest in a startup, you need to understand what they want at the onset.
Thank you very much. I think very good insight has been given by all four of them, and I'm sure a lot will come in the next 30 to 35 minutes. What I've done is I've just jotted some questions randomly and asking them. I'm sure it will resonate what you are thinking also. Probably that's how I've made the minds of people preparing certain questions, which will help you to understand. Maybe sometimes you may not be able to ask those questions. So on your behalf, I'm taking the liberty to ask questions to the panel members, and you are free to ask the questions at the end of the session. Maybe 10, 15 minutes we can give for you all to check on what you have in your mind. Any specific one, you can directly mail them if you have a specific thing that you want to talk to any one of them. In case if you don't have time, you can still mail, you can send back to them, get those answers and help you to understand those things. So is that okay with you all? Okay. As I told you, sir, many random questions that are there which I have prepared. Let me start with Tejas first. Just to understand, for many reasons, founders are not so prudent, are very selective when it comes to choosing an investor. They want money. They want money that will help them to start up. And they don't look at who's the investor. That is what different common phenomena that has been seen. So what are your views on status?
I think it's very important. That we're starting with this because I get to continue the chain of thought, right? So I think the first thing is the one that we are talking about marriages and dating. Let's stay in that and then I'll disagree or talk about where I disagree. So normally, like when you are young, right, you just look at that person or some other person in class or somewhere you see they're very attractive, right? I want to get into a relationship. But as you grow older, then it's not as much about physical appearance or like how good they sound or how good they look. It starts being much more deeper, right? You start thinking about are they smart, right? Then you start thinking about like as you get older, what are your values, right? What are the things that you care about? It's not as much about like the cool or hormonal factor at all. So where I'm going with this is that if you're just looking at a surface level thing, hey, I'm running a startup, I need money to do X, Y, Z, and it doesn't matter where I get the money. You just said that's where the problem starts happening. You actually need to understand what the other person is, right? So like the thesis or like understanding what industry do they invest in. That's like one part. But why are they investing in you as a student, right? Even like a lot of founders or sorry, a lot of investors don't even invest in like first-time founders. Why do they do that? Because essentially what they're trying to do is Okay, so let me just start with the disagreement too. I'll get to that, right? So let me give you an example. So there's a very popular Western dish called egg and ham, right? There's the egg and ham sandwich. And there's a few things, there's a bread, there's an egg layer there, and there's a ham. Ham is made with pork, right? So what do you think is the involvement of a chicken and a pig in that sandwich? Right? How are they related? So chicken is involved because it's giving an egg, right? But it can give a lot of eggs, so it's like fundamentally disinvolved. But a pig ends up dying to become ham to be a part of the sandwich. So similarly, as a startup, you're the pig. Jokes aside, but you're really committed, right? This is your all. You're supposed to be, and some people do it part time, but you're full time working on this. If this works or doesn't work, you're really, really deeply affected. For investors, and this is my big, and I agree, I totally agree, it's based on transparency, it's based on trust. But an investor-investor relationship is not a marriage, according to me, right? It's almost a legal contract, it's a loan, and there are conditions you may or may not have to pay that based on the exit. But it's a relationship where you're asking and taking money with the explicit agreement that you will return it back. There's this whole thing of like, it's not like if the startup shuts down, you don't have to return, but the reality is the startup investors, mostly VCs and early stage investors, they invest in companies because they're not investing in the public market. They're not investing in equity because startups as a vehicle of investing return a certain rate of return. So investors like a chicken, right? They have 10 eggs. They have 10 startups they invest in. Now, sure, because of the risk, not all of the startups might succeed, and everybody knows that. But one or two of them might succeed, and that will make a lot of money. So start looking at the actual math and economics behind how the investments work. So a lot of investors, what they want to do is they get into a relationship where they invest in your company, and after 3, 4, 5 years, which is based on how their fund operates, they expect a return to come out. And unlike a marriage, it's very hard to get a divorce. Right? Once you're in a relationship, once you have an investment for a lot of reasons, it's very hard to get out. And it's also based on the promise that hey, this relationship will actually not last for the whole life because otherwise that's not really a good investment for most of the investors. So after 5 years, 7 years, you have to provide an exit. Right? So if even in this case, if it's sounding like a lot of Greek or like hey, what are these a lot of this technical jargon and like what is this guy going on all about? Maybe that's a sign that you should actually go and do a little bit of research of how investment works, how the financing works, how money works, right? Because fundamentally, even though you're solving a big problem, providing real value to people, a very important component of a startup is money, cash in, cash out, right? A business is all about money and money. If you're not understanding that, you will make a lot of mistakes. So the big fundamental thing here is don't do it surface level, go deep, understand what you're getting into, the relationship that you're getting into, what is it for the other people, what is it that you're promising to provide, and based on that, find who is a good fit. Maybe the fund is not a good fit for you, maybe the investor is not a good fit for you, maybe they have unrealistic expectations of return or other things, right? There will be like 100 parameters that you'll understand, oh, this is how things work. And this is still like more of a relationship basis. Sometimes there's just term sheets of the legal document that you sign. Some term sheets are just so bad that hey, even if you're successful, you will not end up with any money at all. Right? So it's a complex thing. Don't get too disheartened yet. There's still a lot of beautiful reasons to start up and build companies, solve problems, but don't do it half-heartedly. Understand, research, go deep, and then like pick the best partner to help you go to the next stage. Sometimes you might not even need an investor, and that's one of the conversations we had. Start with the assumption that if I don't even raise money, can I build this company? And then slowly find out when is the right time to become an investor. And then both of you will be happy.
Thank you, Tejas. I guess, rightly said by you, it's all about how you are going to work out. And one good point I'd like, what Tejas said is, it's 5 to 7 years that you need to look how it's progressing. And you look whether you want to be in or you want to move out, and then check on that, which is very important, which may not likely to happen in the marriage, as like we said. That's how the businesses are run. That's a perspective that each one of us have. Person to person, but it's okay. You have that perception.
That's the beauty of balance. Like you don't have to look at it
Exactly. Let me question to Nataka sir. Rightly he said that we should all have patience, be there for years, and at the same time, try and check with your relatives, parents, whether they are ready to invest. Extended to that thought, Nataka, what are the important parameters or criteria that needs to be evaluated by an investor when he's investing?
Yeah, so most of the time at early stage of the startup, look, for friends to come together to understand relationship, we are trying to solve a problem. Because what we look at the bond is the domain knowledge to solve that problem. Are they coming with this background? Somebody has done something mistake. Even the need today, may not be moving. But for investors to see they are going to be successful, a domain knowledge is a critical factor. That's what we look at. And we wanted to see how do you move a good to have product or a service to have to be a must have product. We move from good to have, great to have, must have. Correct? For example, in the current market, an example is Misha, you all know Misha, right? Which has done well. What really happened with Flipkart and Big Basket, everybody was trying for an app, right? App based. And one of the key things they observed is WhatsApp is very popular in the market. And the app, still people are trying to understand. Maybe a lot of people are still looks at app for receiving YouTube video or OTT. It is not for buying products and selling products. But they are happy to do communication through WhatsApp. That and secondly, they observe there are many consumers in India who are willing to buy a product at 300, 400. When they go into Amazon, they found the product costs are varying from 500 and so they went and targeted that product. They believe that it is going to be using WhatsApp. Then Misha is becoming a large company, right? That is a unicorn. The belief of consumers and targeting that population using WhatsApp as a means of doing business has moved from a good to have product to a must have product. Now, even today, Amazon, they also wanted to get into this space, which they miss for a large portion of the time. That's what they did. That's a great example you can look at in terms of how do you use the product from a good to have to must have product. So there you need many kinds of help, understanding, expertise. Professors are there at early stage to help you what really happens. But later part of time, you have to bring right advisors who understand the business. Please take their advice and keep moving ahead. We wanted to know how founders are receptive in taking right advisors and implementing on the ground. That has been our key focus to a large number of founders what we look at. So one of the key criteria we look at is how the founder is receptive, but he knows he's taking the right decision. And all the founders, you want not a single founder. A lot of people in startup world doesn't want to invest in a single founder. Please understand, we are looking for 2 or 3 founders coming together. All the 3 has some kind of expertise, either in technology or finance or marketing, it doesn't matter. We don't want 3 founders to be techies, we don't want 3 founders to be marketing guys. Just giving you an example, we have to get diversified people or same friends should be able to distribute their operations. Who has to do what? They cannot find each other. Everybody cannot do the same as understand. That's why we look very closely in the founder ecosystem before investing our money into the startup. I hope that it is very clear to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Professor. I think one valid point we should all carry is the receptiveness. Are you ready to listen and then make the right decision, as what Atanga said is very important. Maybe still you want to take your own course of action, then it will be slightly challenging and then it will not actually align with the thoughts and the expectation that we are talking about. And two, rightly said that it's a good idea to have a couple of other people along with you who can distribute the work, and they also are expert in their own domain, so that you are easing out instead of you doing alone. It could be better that you take another 1 or 2 people, which we have seen in most of the cases which are very successful stories. They have not come alone, they have come with multiple people, and today they are very successful stories that we can hear. So that's a good idea to really look upon and then take it forward. But again, choices viewers who want to put one person can do, but we want to make sure that everyone will help. 3 ideas are better than 1 idea. That could be a good thought that you can take away and then proceed further. So thank you very much, sir. A question to Priyanka, and then the other person can add, because in the audience there are many youngsters sitting can you please suggest 2 or 3 sectors which they should enter, which has high potential and also is sustainable for a very long time, not just for a couple of years, as they just said, don't look at for 1 or 2, look for the long term. So any such sectors that would you like to suggest, any minds and stuff? You can also add all other.
Thank you, Jadav. So before I start to answer this question, let me put a clause here. The future is uncertain, nobody's seen it. And especially in the context of where we are standing, it is even more so. And also because we are talking about startups, which in itself inherently are disruptive in nature. But the future, in a lot of ways, can be predicted based on history and current trends. And over the later part of last year, and maybe early of this year, I have noticed a lot of funding around SaaS and AI, agri-tech, EV and clean tech. So, in my opinion, EV, when you talk about sustainable businesses, I see anything which is towards clean tech, agri-tech, EV financing, agri-financing has a long way to go. We are standing in a place in time where we are talking about, sustainable solutions, ban plastics, but our major concern is about food security, so agri-tech becomes extremely important. We are at a stage where our population is growing enormously. We will have to, I think, cater to 10 times more food in the coming 30 years or so. So agri-tech, in my opinion, is a very sustainable and sector. AI and SaaS undoubtedly will be. I see a lot of funds that have come up around AI SaaS that are very, very keen in funding into SaaS. So of course, that is going to be something. Fintech historically has been a huge success. There's been a lot of funding around fintech, but I would request the other panelists to, bring some light on how these sectors like fintech would be going forward.
Thank you. Actually, we look at startups at 3 angles. One is build to sustain, one is build to serve, one is build to scale. In other aspects, there are 2 more components which we look at. Is it short term in nature? It is long term in nature. If it is short term, money will come faster. If it is long term, it is a patient capital. We need to identify investors who are willing to put. So, as she said, the short term, what we are looking today in the present market is EVs are doing well. As she said, agri-tech is growing. Drones, I think a lot of people are using today. IoT has become a very opportunity in the market, right? And SaaS and generative AI, you all use ChatGPT and it is changing the course. These are all short cycle, better return investments for the investors. Like 3-4 years, they are bursting in terms of demand, supply is very less. People wanted to invest and grow. There are certain sectors which are long term in nature. We should understand what is that it is going to do. The long term nature is more on health tech area, medical devices area, mental health area, what we are discussing. And we are seeing a lot of new age tech which is a self-driven cars. You all have seen that. So these are the things of long-term patient capital, even gaming, where faith is there. Still in India, we see gaming is a patient capital. It will not fly off in year 1, year 2, year 3, maybe 4, 5, 6. One positive thing which we are seeing is gaming laptops are sold much faster today compared to any other laptop. That is very, very positive news for all of us who are getting into gaming. This is what we see. Is it a build to save, build to sell, or build to sustain? It all depends upon your appetite to grow. And finally, before you do any startup, today Google is there, ChatGPT is there. Understand if the similar idea has been adopted anywhere in India or anywhere in the world. Nobody searches that, surprisingly. Nobody searches in Google. We do as an investor, something comes in India, we go and check in Google, we check out some research reports and do that. Please look at it. It is like a deeper story. I went to many places. Hyderabad, Coimbatore, Kerala, Guwahati, Delhi, Madhya Pradesh, Gujarat, Haryana. Then I went to Jammu Kashmir. The idea is simple. Please understand, everybody is doing the same thing. Understand, even if you went to cities and tier two cities, the same idea has been copy tech. We call it as copy tech because we use most of the tech. Government is a copy tech also many of them. I request, please try to be innovative and see what can be done. Don't look at yourself, my ideas. That's what I think I can see.
I just had one. I try to give you a framework of how you can even evaluate it for yourself. So earlier I said there are two parts to important parts to a business. One is building, one is selling, right? So if you're in a space where there's already a lot of work or a lot of companies, a lot of products there, and you're building something, unless you're building something 10x better, right? So Kunal has a Delta Pro framework set up. Your product, if it's in an existing market, it has to be at least 4 times in a like scale or a 10 times better product for people to be able to want to use it. But they will not even use it if it's not 10 times better than what they already use. And after the build part, then you have to figure out can you even sell it, right? And this other thing where I as a founder used to be very reluctant, like I don't want to do what everybody is doing. Some people have that, not everybody. But then there's a lot of these things about trends, right? So this comes to the second part of selling. Either it's a technical shift that's happening that makes it easy for you to build a product, or it's a behavioral shift. Consumers are starting to do things differently. Like Web3 was hot. The whole idea was that crypto and blockchain, people will start transacting differently, they'll start experiencing the internet differently, right? Now when AI is hot, the whole idea is because there's a new technology coming, people will start interacting differently with technology. They'll start searching differently. So what that means is that because everybody is already looking for these solutions, even if you make a OT product, there's no competition, so you'll be able to sell faster. Right? So whatever you're building, I don't know what industry it is in. See if you're able to build it much better than anybody else, or you're able to sell it much faster than anybody else. If you're able to do one, at least one, it goes great. But if you're able to do one really well and understand how it works, you will be able to find the investor who is investing in that space and who understands the business. But make sure that your business has at least one of those criteria and very strong position.
Thank you very much. Again, you from uncertainty, short term, long term. I asked the question to Rashida ma'am. Typically, we are talking about the business life cycle. In case are the investors under pressure when they see that business life cycle is very, very short and maybe not so long. So, what's your thought? What is goes on in the mind of both founder as well as investor? But from investor perspective, your thoughts.
So in terms of like just continuing to where and basically what industry. If you heard about, I'll give you an example of Nokia, right? Nokia was one of the most everybody used to, it was nothing but Nokia phones and Nokia, and suddenly Nokia has disappeared. So one is that as a founder and even from a quantum and investor, right? What is required is that are you in times with what is required and are you being able to see what the future is, right? So, and if you feel that your product is, going to get, or there is something better coming in, how soon you can pivot and try to ensure that you are in sync with the technology or whatever the changes that are happening. And currently, if you see, technology is changing so rapidly. We were talking about AI and suddenly you have generative AI and that AI itself is rapidly learning from its own data that is happening and is changing so fast that you have to keep up with the times. And that is where the investor comes under pressure is when you are not able to adopt to the changes and make those changes and pivot yourself. And that's when you start, then, as a promoter, as a founder, as a company, you're not able to scale up or, you start losing ground. And this is what happened to many of the companies that you are seeing today, which were unicorns, are today, they don't even have that valuation. It's just, and that's where the investor definitely comes under pressure. And, but then they have to definitely, they would like to look at an exit as quickly as possible. And you've seen what is happening with Byju's and, and especially like EdTech, again, an example when it was COVID, when everybody working from home, it was phenomenal. There was a huge success, the growth went very high. But now when everybody is going back to physical form, they feel that it's much better and, online edtech companies are using it. But there are some who have been able to come out with innovative products and pivot themselves and, have been able to sustain. So this is where pressure comes if you're not able to change with times and change the technology.
Thank you very much. Now what we will do is, in case any audience are having any specific question to specific panel member, you can ask. And then based on the time, we continue the discussion, but looking at the time, we would request you to check if you have any questions.
Thank you all for your valuable insights. So my question to you is, anybody can answer it, it's not specific to anyone. So let's say we have a very fantastic idea. We bootstrap it, and then, when we are looking for investment, let's say when we discuss this particular idea with friends and family, let's say 10 people are more interested to invest in this project or startup or anything you call it, in a small investments, like multiple people. But whereas, looking at, the complexities involved in dealing with the people, what is it? Is it better to go with a professional VC kind of investor, one single investor, or is it good to go with friends and family who are present?
See, there are few lucky, especially who are lucky, from top 4 IITs of India, IIT Delhi, IIT Bombay, Chennai, and Mexico. They have been backed by large VCs who are linked about 1 to 3 million. Getting into the university, you have to be your hard work. Whereas the rest of the people are going to the country. For them to get into that kind of thing, they have to undergo a complete transition. That means you are giving opportunity to the people around you to give some money to you. Today, I think India is well educated in terms of investing in startups. One of the good things is people are willing to do it. By investing in your idea, right? You don't know whether you succeed or fail. Please take Prashant Paramit also there. Under Companies Act, being a private listed company, you can take up to 200 shareholders on your capital, including you as a company. There is no restriction for it. And now digital signatures are coming, DocuSigns have been coming, getting your documentation done is far easier. So there is no question that if you are lucky to get one VC with a large money, you are the most luckiest there. But if you want to sustain and have your passion before you startup, a few people are willing to talk on about money, please take it. There is no restriction. Thank you.
I can only add that, see, what happens is it is always better as much as possible to be able to bootstrap it with your own funds, family, friends, as long as you can sustain. And once a VC comes, there is a lot of other responsibility that comes upon you. You have to show your performance. You have to ensure that you give your information system, proper information to them on a regular basis. There is a lot of other, compliances that have to happen because once you're signing the term sheet, and in the term sheet there are a lot of contracts, and there is also a thing like event of default. If you default, they can come. And they can really, ensure that make life very difficult. But if it's friends and family, you still have that time because they will not put that much of pressure as the investor would, because he has to show his exit to the LPs that he has taken money from. So my suggestion would be, if you're getting money from friends and family, that is where you start with, rather than going to VCs. That can be much later.
So, hi everyone. My name is Vajra Kopula. I'm an impact trainer with a 12+ year experience. So basically, I worked in media. Then after that, I started my event management company. So coming to your perspective, whatever you are giving the idea, first you approach the family, friends. So since 12 years, my mother invested me around 6-7 lakhs. My friends invested me around 5-6 lakhs. Through that support system, I built my entrepreneurship. But whenever I go to outside the world, I need some support for to develop my ideas. So in the first phase, I created one startup idea like a IPL model blind cricket tournament. After that, my second venture is beauty design. Through that, other wheelchair users. Through that, I want to start a modeling agency. And my third one is award functions for the entrepreneurs like Pride of Hyderabad. We are collaborating with Telangana government. So these are my ideas and I am working on this. Now I am starting one incubator for specially able entrepreneurs. Through this, I am generating income and I am contributing the economy and it's a completely purely social impact, creating social impact. But whatever you said, I did not receive that kind of support because I am disabled. The people seeing their looks, their talks, okay, they are taking pics and they are giving some good words, wow, you are doing great, that. But coming to the money, but that kind of support system, I am not did not yet received since 12 years. Now I am challenging you, or I am asking you, I am teaching you now, do you invest in my startup? That is, I want to create and I want to support the entire community of Indian disabled people. I want to make them entrepreneurs. I want to make India able.
Yeah, I think ma'am was the issue to. Most of our investors, most of the investors which are there in the current environment are financial investors. People wanted to invest in.
I have revenue models also that I'm explaining, but that's stigma.
No, that's a separate discussion now, but I'm telling you. There is an organization called Social Venture Fund, Ajit Premji Foundation, right? They wanted to invest, I gave one of the examples. These people wanted to invest socially impacted startups, which are also making money. So if you try to approach a financial investor like Hyderabad or any large VC, for them, your startup may not be of interest. They're very open and candid to you now, but I'm not worried. Because social alpha, there is an impact investment company there. These are the people who wanted to invest in this kind of startups because the returns are very meager in this case, but the impact to society is very large. We may not be the right investors. So you have to choose your right investor whom I need to go. And then we can connect offline, I can direct you where we can go and raise it. Yeah, thank you.
Ma'am, in the morning, we had a speaker, Mr. Sandeep Reddy from ICICI Bank. They also have an ICICI Foundation where you can go and pitch based on the viability and the commercial value. They may definitely like to help you. And there is one more, there are many schemes which are floated by Government of India. One of them, I'm sure you may be knowing, is Startupedia scheme, where you are eligible even for free fee, where you don't even have to show anything except the 10 to 15% of the margin amount. You can avail between 10 lakh to 1 crore, and there are more than 2,30,000 people who have already availed last 9 years. So you can directly approach any national bank, especially SBI and Canara Bank are very proactively helping people. And I've seen cases where in 5 to 7 days, there was a disbursement made by Google. So I'm sure that you will also get the support from them in case if they find your project to be very viable.
Yes, sir, I feel very happy they supported. But when I experienced it, I approached this national finance corporation for exclusively for disabled. Even there are a lot of process. They are attached to these local bankers and some government officials. This seems a lot of process, and even apart from the government schemes also. I am paying tax. Every year I am earning around 10 lakhs amount, my this proprietorship. So once I approached almost SBI and the other private banks also for just bank loan, for improve my management company. But they are not willing to support us. So just they are saying, and okay, I am from AP, I am starting business here. They are saying that reason. You are not from Telangana, you are here. But my company is registered here, sir. So like that thing, I think that kind of things. I'm not blaming the system or not. Just I'm asking.
No, so I'll like to take a little bit of this, right? And I have a lot of advice, but I'll try to keep it simple, right? There's only one thing I'd say, right? And I said this earlier also, building startups is not easy. Especially if you're trying to do an impact thing which doesn't align with the business goals for most investors, it's not easy, right? The only thing, and even if you're saying I'm not complaining, right? Unless you're okay with listening to 1,000 no's and then still continuing to still build, and then just all you need is just one yes eventually, right?
That's why I'm not stopping. Since 12 years I'm running.
Okay, I lied. I'll give you one. If you're not able to find like a direct impact investor, then like so one, you're definitely talking to the wrong person. Right? Stop doing that. Try to find out the right investor. Talk to other companies or other people in your space who have raised capital, who are successful. Try to find connections through them instead of trying to directly go and like do it yourself, right? That might give you a better mileage of like finding the right people to talk to who might invest. But also like again at the same time, try to find time. Start improving your pitching skills, right? Your sales skills, your pitching. If you're able to pitch more convincingly, you don't even need to have like a as solid as a business that you're talking about. You will be able to convert better, right? So find the right investors and work on your pitching skills. You will be getting much more success.
Thank you.
I'd like to add here, ma'am, are you going to give me?
Yes.
So I want to add here just to clarify, I think what Ratnakaji is trying to tell you, when he's talking about financial investors, he's talking about the kind of investors who invest in ultra growth or hyper growth sectors, disruptive ideas. Nowadays, the one mistake that a lot of youngsters make is they think that any business that they start is a startup. Let me correct you there. You can call any business a startup because it's a new venture, but not every business is a startup. Anything is actually very disruptive in nature and has a very hyper growth, a potentially very hyper growth, and you have a good scalability plan for it. Now, there is a one thing that I would like to give to any startup who has a great idea and wants to go to an investor. I keep telling all entrepreneurs that please sort out your distribution plan first. Your idea and your distribution has to go hand in hand. When I say distribution, I'm trying to say that you need to understand who you're going to sell, how you're going to sell, how are you going to reach out to them, how will they have your solution with them. This is a very important, so you can't say that I will work on my idea and the distribution will get sorted out. That is your recipe for disaster. That is exactly what a financial investor wants to see. When he wants to understand scalability, he wants to understand your clarity in how you're going to the market, how big is your market, how fast can you scale. So there are a lot of businesses which are slightly traditional, somebody else is in that already. Chances of such a startup, such a new business venture is lower than what is expected from a financial investor. But there are essentially funds who invest in, social ventures into social impact, and they are called impact investing funds. So if you actually just Google us, you will find a lot of companies. Did you know that World Bank, IFC actually invests in startups in India as debt, who get into social impact, largely not a lot of returns. They look forward to interest, a lot of times even portfolio interest, but they're looking at projects that actually serve the people. Thank you. That's it.
Thank you very much. I guess maybe we can talk to them during tea and then get more thoughts. One more last question and then we'll close because the other panel discussion needs to start up. So last question from this area.
Generally valued, being a bootstrapped company, how to calculate or valuation of our company?
What question do you have?
Actually, nowadays we are getting that startups like Biden and Paytm or Paytm. Investors might think startups are cash flow. May I know your opinion on this?
Okay, I'll go with it. So valuation is a different art, it's not some science or something. What are the valuation experts are using discounted cash flow method? For us, the simple methodology is any startup wants to come in to raise funds. We look for a value of 6 crores to 30 crores, depending upon your experience, qualification, what it comes into the background, and how the product is started.
Mike ఎవరికి వినిపిస్తుందంటే అక్కడ కూర్చొని ఏం పడుతుందా ఏం వస్తుందో
It ranges from 6 crores to 30 crores, based on your premium requirement. Okay, that's a pure negotiation, there is no science for it, it is pure art, negotiation is it. Madam, what are your best thing about Paytm? Paytm is of a greater issue, because they deviated from RBI guidelines of privacy requirement in one particular. They found Paytm banks violating lot of privacy requirement. That's the reason the government said any tolerance, any intolerance in compliance will take a firm stand that has been taken away. Baidu is very simple aspect. They felt that they can grow 1000% year on year for next 10 years. Investments went through. I think you would have seen this movie of Rajinikanth Narasimha, where his father gives 3,000 crores to spend in 1 month, right? It has happened with Baidu, that's what I understand. And he has worked and spent, and after that, there's not resulted in anything. Investors are confused. They went and invested, something is there, something is there, something is there, finally everything, nothing is there. And that is the confusion which is coming in the market, but we all should pray for Baidu Ravindran to be successful and come out of the situation, because it is India's pride which is getting bad in the international market by the India. So he has to overcome that, as this is the phase he has to go through. The good and bad has to happen, as I said. Let us not see negative thought, see it as a positive thing happening, and course correction is happening in the sun. Investors are seeing very positive from that particular incident. Only India is writing a lot of negative news in the market. Please understand it, nothing negative on this one.
Thank you very much. We'll close this discussion. In case if you have any questions, you can mail us and we can send the same back to the panel members. So over to both of you.
Thank you everyone for such an insightful discussion. We can conclude the session by understanding that we need the right investor at the right time and at the right place, so that any company could run smoothly. In any startup that we start, there should be patience and resilience, and only then we can achieve our goal. Once again, I thank all the panelists for giving us insight and perspectives on how the investors think and how they will invest. And I hope the young entrepreneurs and the future entrepreneurs sitting over there would have an idea and also would think about it. Thank you. I would request Padmaka sir to present the memento to our panel members as a token of gratitude.
over the program.
We will now be followed by the speaker series. There's a general announcement and we need to understand some clarification. All the students that are here and the participants, how many of you have utilized IP transportation to come to the campus? If you could please raise your hands. All right. We are trying to arrange for a bus that will start from the campus. The regular IP buses will leave at the time